Ninja gyms are popping up nationwide as more people discover the thrill of this growing sport. As the general manager of Ultimate Ninjas Indianapolis and a two-time American Ninja Warrior competitor, Brian Parache offers incredible insights into the world of ninja training and what it takes to coach those looking to excel. This is Career Chats with Katie and Robin.
Welcome, Brian. We're so excited to have you on Career Chats today.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be exciting.
To begin, why don't you tell us what you do and what a typical day on the job looks like?
I am the general manager of Ultimate Ninjas Indianapolis. So I oversee all the weekday operations for our ninja gym. So from a typical day, kind of looks different from day to day. Mondays, I come in and I set up for the whole week. I create class curriculum, figure out what we're doing for classes, figure out what we're doing for our team practices, figure out what we're doing. We have a partnership with IPS where they bus kids in every night at 6 o'clock, which can be anywhere between like 30 to 60 kids for an hour class. So we typically do some different stuff with them as well. The rest of the week, I'm normally either trying to build stuff or do some administrative things like answer emails, set up events, set up competitions, design obstacles for the competitions that I have to start building, things like that.
Wow, it's a full day.
Oh, yeah.
How did you find yourself in this job?
So I used to live in Chicago. I used to be a gymnast. So growing up, we were always like, oh, we love American Ninja Warrior. We want to see. We're trying to convince our coach at some point to try to go on American Ninja Warrior. And he was thinking about it. And so I ended up stopping doing gymnastics in high school. And my mom at some point found Ultimate Ninjas in Chicago. This was when there was only one gym. And they had some of the guys coming in from American Ninja Warrior that you could meet and learn from and stuff like that. And I didn't know if I could go or not. But she was like, you're probably too old, but you can come and at least see. You might think it's cool. So I went, ended up going out on the course, had a blast. Ethan Swanson, who's been on American Ninja Warrior 9 times now, he was there. We were having fun together and he told me I should apply. So I applied and I started working there as a coach and kind of just worked my way up over the years.
And how did you end up at Indy then, if you were a coach at Chicago?
Yeah, I was a coach at Chicago for a couple of years. Then I went to nursing school. Then COVID happened and stuff. So I couldn't really work there even during the summers because the gyms like ours were closed, especially in Chicago. The first summer I was at college, I couldn't work there. So I worked at Menards instead. And then coming back the second summer, that's when things started opening back up in college. So I started working for Chicago, and then there was a newer location that was up north that one of my friends was managing, Michael Torres. So after that second year of college, I decided I wanted to take a break from school. So that summer I came back, and while I was working at that North Shore gym up north, Torres told me he was leaving. And so he asked if I would like to kind of take over for him there, at least until they found somebody. Then Jeff was like, oh, wait, we're going to build a gym in Indy, and Brian used to go to school not too far from there. So I guess since I was kind of interim manager up there, he asked if I wanted to move down and do this for a few years. So I decided to do it. Now I'm here.
And we're so glad you did.
We are. So are there any requirements that you need for being the general manager in terms of certifications or training? How does that work?
For us, not really. We do need to have first aid CPR stuff. But if you don't have that, it's not a requirement before you come in. They'll get you those certs if you don't have them. Other than that, not really. They just, at least for my position, we have 2 managers where it's a weekday manager, which is what I am, and then the weekend, since operations are so different. For my role, they at least want you to have some experience with ninja. Since I'm creating curriculum, since I'm teaching our team, I'm taking kids to competitions. And so they would like you to have at least somewhat of a background so they know that you know what you're doing with that and setting the course up and building obstacles in a safe way, things like that.
Right. So tell us, what's your favorite part about the work you do?
My favorite part is probably just seeing kids come in and being able to build confidence in themselves. You see a lot of kids that come in, they're very nervous when they first come in, or they're just scared to try some stuff. But especially with classes, since that's what I deal with when they're coming every week, it's cool to see how much they grow from week to week. And a few months after that, they're running up stuff, getting big swings. And you're the first day you came in here, you were scared to try the monkey bars. And now you're doing some crazy swings and stuff. So that's really exciting to see. It makes the job definitely very rewarding.
That's awesome. What's your least favorite?
I think personally, the boring part's all the administrative stuff, because I don't I want to be out there, teach kids, and just be building stuff all day because I love building stuff. And I know the administrative part's just part of it. I feel like I'm not super great at that, but thankfully now I have Amanda coming in And she's kind of helping take over a lot of that administrative stuff so I can slowly start doing all the stuff that I like to do.
Now, when you say building stuff, tell us what that means exactly.
I try as much as I can to build new obstacles for the gym. So since I go to a lot of competitions or I follow a lot of people that are competing and I get to see stuff, there's some really cool obstacle ideas that other people will build, or even if you're just watching American Ninja Warrior, I've definitely tried to build a few cool obstacles from there that I've liked, at least for our competitions, to make things a little bit different. I do it to try to switch up the gym a little bit.
Yeah.
There's so many big things there that you can modify to some extent, but we don't want people to get bored. So try to switch it up a little bit with building stuff. And I don't do it as much as I would like to, but especially in the winter, now that we're coming up on comp season, we've got a big competition at the end of January and then a big competition in the middle of April that I have to have two completely different courses for. So I'm starting to design obstacles in my head and try to draw out blueprints and stuff to try to figure out how I would even build those things, which to me is a fun part of the job because I can have an idea for something I've never seen before, but then I have to figure out how I'm actually going to build it because nobody's ever done it before. I've learned how to build a lot of things through this job, which has been really fun, but I think that's a fun challenge.
Yeah.
So what kind of personalities do you think would thrive in the day-to-day work environment of what you do or what your coaches do even?
Yeah, so you definitely have to be outgoing. It's not a job, I don't think, for people who are very like timid or quiet because one, we always want to be super energetic and we want kids to enjoy being there and we want to be very interactive with the kids, both if they're there for just open gym or classes or whatever they're there for, birthday parties too. Like we want the birthday kid to feel special. So we want people to be excited to be there. But also when you have that many kids there, depending on what you're there for, like if it's a big IPS class or a big birthday party, you have to be very assertive with the kids as well. You can't just let them run around and do whatever.
Yeah.
And that was something that I learned. I've always been an outgoing person, but I'm a very big people pleaser. And so when I first started, especially doing classes and like having all the parents watching and a kid wouldn't be doing, I'd be scared to discipline them because I didn't want the parents to get mad. And after being at the job for forever, you realize that the parents are probably actually happy that you're not letting their kid just be the kid that's running wild in the class. I've more often than not have had parents come up and say, hey, thanks for giving my kid condition when he's not listening, or thanks for making him sit out. And we want him to be listening in class and things like that. So that's something that even I struggled with, but just being in the job for so long, you realize that you just have to be assertive.
As a parent, I'm always appreciative when there's a good coach who's, again, helping my kids learn that there's more voices than just mine, right? I want them to know how to interact in the world. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you tell someone who's thinking about whether it's, managing a gym, or a lot of times I know that Ultimate Ninjas is more of a franchise and there's a lot of them, but for a lot of people, they may be starting their own smaller gym. What advice would you give someone who wants to do this?
Something that I've learned from a business perspective, just in general, is that you have to be patient with the process, especially if you're building a new gym or you're in a completely new market. So for us, this is our only gym in the state of Indiana. Most of our gyms are up in Chicago, and then we've got one in St. Louis, one in Anaheim, California. I mean, just in my experience at our gym, it's really easy to get super ambitious, and there's not a problem being super ambitious, but you can't let yourself get discouraged, especially when you're in a completely new place. It takes time to build that awareness that you're there. It takes time to build up a community. It's not in a month or two.
Yeah.
Your doors are gonna be flood open. I mean, there's cases that's happened, but for the majority of people, it's a slow process, and so you have to be ready for that and ready to just work real hard for a long time and just trust that you're planting all those seeds. You just got to be patient for that harvest to come. And so that's something I think you can use for any business, not even just a ninja gym, but especially for ninja, because this is such like a niche sport, at least right now. We're trying to grow it, and it actually is going to be in the Olympics in LA and stuff like that. So that's going to be really good to see that'll hopefully grow the sport a lot. But for now, it's just one of those things where it's starting to become more popular, but a lot of kids or parents will want their kids to go into more of those traditional sports like baseball or soccer and be competitive in those. And so for such a niche sport, it takes a little bit longer, I would say, to just grow that. And so you just got to be patient.
Great advice. for all businesses.
Exactly. So do you think there will be more or less opportunities for people to do this kind of work?
Definitely more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just, I think, approved it officially, I think, for LA in 2028, I believe is when LA is. And so it's not going to be a standalone sport. It's going to be in the pentathlon. So you're going to have to run and shoot, swim, I think, and then fence. And then ninja will be the other event in there. So
Wait, a pentathlon? Like 5 things?
That's a lot of, well, ninja's already like decathlon. Like there's so many different parts of ninja to begin with.
right, exactly. So they're taking out equestrian from there because I guess there was supposedly a video from Tokyo or something where one of the coaches was beating a horse because they didn't perform or something. So then the IOC said that they needed to either take out equestrian and replace it with something else, or they were going to not have the pentathlon be a sport in the Olympics.
Oh my gosh.
Which that's been one of the staple sports since like the beginning of the Olympics. Like pentathlon is one of the big traditional sports or original sports, I would say.
But I feel like knowing how to ride a horse is so niche compared to all the other things that they're putting in the pentathlon.
I agree. So that's what the pentathlon committee has been trying to, that's kind of been their argument, because obviously there's people in like the pentathlon committee that aren't happy, and they're saying like the sport it's just not going to be the same anymore. And ninja's a sport that's going to be a lot more accessible to people than equestrian. And so it might draw more people into our sport for sure, because now they don't have to own a horse or go
have stables and
exactly. So I mean, I think it can be good for their sport. I mean, I'm not in their community, and I bet I would probably be upset too if my sport was changing that drastically, especially from something like equestrian to something ninja.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people don't see ninja as a sport yet. They just see it more as like a TV show kind of thing and just for fun. So I think that's where some of their thoughts are coming from as well. But I do think that once people start to see it, I think it can be a good thing. And it'll definitely, I think, draw more people into their sport. Because I already kind of thought like, oh, now I got to learn how to fence and things like that, because I've always wanted to be in the Olympics. But realistically, I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's making me think about it. And I know there's a lot of people in the ninja community that are probably thinking about it.
I'd rather watch that than equestrian personally.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm not biased at all. And once people start to see ninja in there, and I mean, hopefully that'll be one of the events they televise that's not at like 3 a.m. I think that if people see that, that is going to start a big jump in ninja gyms and people wanting to get involved in the sport, because it's the same thing that happens with gymnastics. When I was a gymnast and I worked at a ninja gym, every 4 years when the Olympics came on, you'd see a massive skyrocket everybody's numbers, because everybody watches it and then they're like, ooh, I want to do that. That looks fun.
Yeah.
Crazy uptick that are at least in bigger cities right after the Olympics. So I think you start to see a similar trend with ninja.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like your career path, is this what you plan on doing forever, or what's next for you?
What's next is going back to school, finishing nursing. Next summer is when I'm leaving. And then, yeah, I'll finish nursing. I want to be like an ER nurse for either a little bit or forever. We'll see. But I also want to be a flight nurse.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'd have to do like critical care nursing, like ER, ICU for a few years before I can even apply to flight nursing. So, I mean, I've always wanted to do ER. So even if I don't get into flight nursing or I decide not to do it, I can still be ER, but I'll have to work on all my certs, because you need like 8 certs for flight nursing, and you need to be in critical care nursing for like 5 years before you apply. But eventually, hopefully I'll be that person in the helicopters that's either transporting people or going to scene calls where there's crazy car accidents or people stuck on a mountain that are like broke their leg or something and having to go get them. So
you want to be in the action.
I want to be in the action. Yep, exactly.
So being a general manager, beyond, obviously getting paid, what type of benefits do you like from having this type of job?
I like the flexibility. I work Monday through Thursday, so I have 3-day weekends, which is nice, especially since I'm a cyclist. I race on the weekends. I can travel wherever I need to on the weekends, and I have more time to do that. It's more of a fun job in my mind, especially when I was a coach for sure. And I didn't have as many responsibilities. Like I could go out there, and when I'm helping kids there in open gym or birthday parties, like I can mess around on the obstacles too. So I can play while I'm working and be more interactive with the kids that way, because then they love seeing, oh, you go do this, you go do that. Okay, show me how to do that. And so it's a fun environment where you don't get bored as much. And I think that's another thing for me. I do so many things that it's hard for me to get bored or feel like it's just a monotonous job doing the same thing over and over again. And that's what I tell a lot of people when I'm doing interviews when they're just wanting to start as a coach. Like there's so many things we do that you're not going to get bored just doing one thing.
As someone who's competed in American Ninja Warrior twice, can you tell us what your favorite part of that experience was?
Just the whole experience in general. It's really easy as someone who's very competitive to not be happy with how you do, especially both years I've done it, I haven't done very well, at least in my mind. Especially this year, I knew I could have done better. I felt really confident about the course for the most part. The obstacle I fell on was the one that I was worried about. The rest of the obstacles seemed very doable, especially with my skill set. So it's really easy to get frustrated or beat yourself up or not be in a great spot after you fall early, but I try to be appreciative of just the whole experience because there's so many people that have applied for years and have never gotten on, and I've been blessed to be able to do it twice. And so just being able to be there and be around the lights and the cameras, and you're around all these super cool people that are on the show, and people who are doing it for the first time or people who have done it for 12 years, and they're like the big people on the show, just to be around there and everybody's helping each other out and trying to stay awake through the filming since it's all night. And it's just a fun experience overall. So
that's so cool. What would you say is the most challenging part about having the TV experience?
Most challenging part, I think, I would say, just like I said, try not to beat yourself up. I mean, only one person wins $1 million. I think all of us are not satisfied unless we were to win the $1 million. So,
and even then, you could have done it better.
Right. Exactly. So like at the end of the day, it's a TV show and it's awesome to be a part of. And so having to come to terms with, I only have one shot. And if I have a good day, it looks like I'm a great ninja. And if I have a bad day, then I might not have another chance.
Right.
If I do get another chance, it might not be for another year, 2, 3 years, like if they decide to take you again. So I think as an athlete who is competitive, that is the mental game behind that is very difficult, at least for me personally, because I was so excited to get another shot second time. And I think that's what made it even harder when I fell this time. Mm-hmm. I was so excited. And I was like, I just want to do better than the first time. I know I can. And I know I can do better. Some of these people who went further on the course or made it to semifinals or made it to Vegas, like I've beaten in normal competitions at people's gyms. But when you're there and then they do better than you, and you know that at least before you beat them and you can do the same stuff as them, it's a little difficult, especially when now I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back. So hopefully I do, but if not, I'm going to be happy that I've been able to do it twice. Like I said, I have a lot of friends who've never even done it before and they've been trying for years. So even though I'm a little frustrated, I just have to be grateful for the experience because it is something that very few people get to experience.
Well, now you just go train for the Olympics.
Right.
There you go. Well, Brian, it was so good to have you on the show today. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Career Chats is hosted by Katie Huddleston and Robin Coney. Show notes and guest info can be found on our website, careerchats.show. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love you to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, stay curious.